When intuition saved my life. The first time I felt it was on a Tuesday. That weird prickle at the back of my neck. Like someone watching me, but no one was there. Just me. Alone in my cubicle at Meridian Insurance, staring at the new guy 3 rows over. There was nothing obviously wrong with him. Calvin Reed. Hired last month as a claims adjuster. Polite smile, firm handshake. Brought donuts on his first day. Everyone loved him. Everyone except that tiny voice in my head that whispered danger whenever he was around. Earth to Emma. My best friend Sophia waved her hand in front of my face. You've been staring at the new guy for 5 minutes straight. Just ask him out already. I blinked, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. I wasn't staring. There's just something off about him. Sophia rolled her eyes. Yeah, he's too perfect. Great job, great smile. And did you see his arms in that button-up? The only thing off is that he hasn't asked me out yet. I forced a laugh but couldn't shake the feeling. I'm not typically the paranoid type. I'm the rational one, the planner, the Excel spreadsheet maker. I don't get vibes or read auras or whatever. But Calvin Reed triggered something primitive in my brain, like seeing a snake in tall grass before consciously processing it. The next day, I found myself in the break room alone with him. He was making coffee, his back to me as I grabbed my lunch from the fridge. Emma, right? He turned with that perfect smile. I've been meaning to introduce myself properly. Calvin Reed. His handshake was warm, confident. Nothing creepy about it. His eyes even crinkled at the corners when he smiled. So why did I feel like running? Nice to meet you. I managed, already backing toward the door. I should get back. Wait, he said, and something in his tone made me freeze. I've been hoping to catch you alone. My heart slammed against my ribs. I heard you're the go-to person for the Henderson account? I've been assigned to it but could really use some guidance. Oh, relief washed over me. Sure, email me and we can set up a time. He smiled again. Great. Thanks, Emma. I hurried back to my desk, telling myself I was being ridiculous. But that night I Googled him anyway. Nothing unusual came up. LinkedIn profile showing 5 years at State Farm before joining us. A dormant Facebook account with normal vacation photos. A 5K charity run from last year. So why couldn't I shake this feeling? On Friday, our team had happy hour at O'Malley's down the street. Calvin sat across from me, chatting easily with everyone. He told funny stories, asked thoughtful questions, remembered details about people's families. Perfect colleague behavior. But 3 drinks in I noticed something. Calvin never actually drank from his beer. He lifted it, pretended to sip, even wiped foam from his lip once. But the level never went down. I think I'm going to head out, I told Sophia around 8 p.m. Already? We were thinking of hitting that new place on 6th Street next. Not feeling great, I lied. You guys have fun. As I walked to the door, I felt him watching me. When I glanced back, his eyes were indeed on me. But he quickly smiled and raised his still full beer in a friendly salute. Outside, the warm June air hit my face. I breathed deeply, trying to calm down. The parking garage was 2 blocks away, poorly lit but typically safe. I'd walked it 100 times. Halfway there, I heard footsteps behind me, quickening, matching my pace. I didn't turn around. I just pulled out my phone and pretended to take a call. Hey Brad, yeah, I'm almost at the garage, I said loudly to no one. Stay on the line with me, okay? I'll be at my car in like 2 minutes. The footsteps behind me slowed, then stopped. I heard the distinctive sound of a lighter, then smelled cigarette smoke. Just another bar patron taking a smoke break. My paranoia was getting out of hand. At my car, I locked the doors immediately and sat for a moment, hands shaking slightly on the wheel. I needed to get a grip. Or maybe see a therapist. The weekend passed normally. I cleaned my apartment, met Sophia for brunch, called my mom. By Monday morning, I'd almost convinced myself I was being silly about Calvin. Then I saw the note on my desk. Emma, can we meet to discuss Henderson account? My office, 3 p.m.? Calvin. My office. Not his cubicle, my office. The presumption made my skin crawl. But I was being ridiculous. He was new and didn't know office terminology yet. At 3 p.m., I walked to his cube with the Henderson file and my laptop. Professional, prepared, and definitely not irrationally afraid. But Calvin wasn't at his desk. Instead, I found a sticky note. Sorry, got pulled into meeting. My actual office is B7 in basement. Meet there? C. The basement housed old files, IT servers, and a few forgotten offices from when the company was smaller. No one worked down there now except occasional IT staff. That voice in my head was screaming now. I texted Sophia. Meeting Calvin about Henderson account in B7. If I don't text you by 3:30, come find me. She replied with an eye roll emoji and, getting paranoid in your old age? But fine, we'll check at 3:30. The basement was dim, fluorescent lights humming overhead. My heels clicked loudly on the concrete floor as I walked past abandoned desks and tall filing cabinets. B7 was at the end of a long hallway, its door slightly ajar, light spilling out. I paused outside, heart racing. This was stupid. Calvin was just a coworker, a normal guy doing his job. But I didn't go in. Instead, I knocked on the door frame. Calvin? It's Emma. No answer. I pushed the door open wider with my foot, staying in the doorway. The room was empty. A single desk lamp illuminated an old wooden desk. On it sat a framed photo, face down, and a laptop, open but with a dark screen. Calvin? I called again. Then I noticed something odd. The photo frame had no dust on it, unlike everything else in the room. Someone had placed it there recently. I stepped into the room, just enough to reach the desk, and carefully turned the frame over. It was a photo of me, taken yesterday, through the window of the coffee shop where I'd met Sophia for brunch. I was laughing, unaware of the camera. My blood turned to ice. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway behind me. Without thinking, I grabbed the frame and dove under the desk, making myself as small as possible. The footsteps entered the room, then stopped. Emma. Calvin's voice was light, conversational. Are you in here? I thought I heard someone. I held my breath, clutching the photo to my chest. He moved around the room slowly. That's strange. I could have sworn. His feet appeared in my line of sight, inches from the desk. Black dress shoes, perfectly polished. Well, he sighed. I'll just wait for her here. He sat in the chair, pushing it up to the desk. His knees were now directly in front of my face. If he leaned down even slightly, he'd see me. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a text. I prayed it wouldn't make a sound. Calvin shifted in the chair, then suddenly slammed a hand down on the desk, making me jump. I know you're in here, he said, voice completely changed. Low, angry. I can smell your perfume. I stopped breathing entirely. He pushed back from the desk abruptly and stood. I prepared to scream, to fight, to do whatever I needed to do. But then miraculously his phone rang. What? He answered, irritation clear. Now. I'm in the middle of fine. Give me 5 minutes. He stormed out, footsteps echoing down the hallway. I waited 10 seconds, then scrambled out from under the desk and ran for the door. In the hallway, I turned away from the direction Calvin had gone, looking for any exit. At the end of the corridor was a service elevator. I jabbed the button repeatedly, looking over my shoulder. The ancient machinery groaned slowly to life. Come on, come on, come on. Heavy footsteps sounded from around the corner. Coming back. Coming fast. The elevator doors finally opened. I jumped inside and repeatedly hit the close door button. The doors began to inch shut. Calvin appeared at the end of the hallway. His face transformed with rage when he saw me. Emma, he roared, breaking into a run. The doors closed just as he reached them. I heard a bang as he slammed into them. Then the elevator lurched upward. When it reached the lobby, I sprinted out, past confused coworkers, straight to the security desk. Call the police, I gasped at Jerry, our elderly security guard. There's a man in the basement, Calvin read. He's got pictures of me. He was stalking me. Jerry looked alarmed, but picked up his phone. Before he could dial, the elevator dinged again. Calvin stepped out, perfectly composed. His rage was gone, replaced by that same pleasant smile. Emma, there you are. I've been looking for you. We had a meeting scheduled. Jerry looked between us, confused, his hand hovering over the phone. He has a picture of me in that basement office, I said, my voice shaking. A picture he took without my knowledge. Ask him why. Calvin's smile didn't waver. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't have an office in the basement. B7, I insisted. Go look, Jerry. Right now. Ma'am, maybe you should sit down, Calvin suggested, his voice dripping with concern. You seem upset. Other colleagues were gathering now, watching the scene unfold. I could see it in their eyes. They thought I was having a breakdown. Check his desk, I said to Jerry. Please. Jerry, looking uncomfortable but dutiful, nodded. Sir, would you mind if I? Of course not, Calvin said smoothly. Though I think Emma might need medical attention. She's clearly not well. As Calvin guided Jerry toward the elevators, I frantically searched my pockets for the photo, but it was gone. Must have dropped it in my panic. Sophia appeared at my side. Emma, what's happening? I got your text about 3:30. Calvin is stalking me, I whispered. He had a picture of me from yesterday. In the basement. Sophia looked concerned. Not for my safety but for my mental state. Calvin's only been at his desk all day. I saw him there at 2:45 when I went to get coffee. No, he left a note. I rushed to my desk, but the note was gone. It was right here. People were staring now. Whispers circulated. Poor Emma. Working too hard. Always seemed so stable. Jerry returned, Calvin at his side. Ma'am, there's no office in use down there. Just storage. Please, I said, desperation creeping into my voice. Call the police. Look into his background. Something isn't right. Our HR director, Marcia, approached cautiously. Emma, why don't you take the rest of the day off? Get some rest. I knew how it looked. I could feel my credibility crumbling with each passing second. But that feeling, that primal warning system, was blaring louder than ever. Fine, I said finally. I'll go home. As security escorted me out, I passed Calvin. He smiled sympathetically, but his eyes were cold. Feel better, Emma, he said, just loudly enough for others to hear his concern. At home, I double-checked all my locks, then collapsed onto my couch. What was happening? Was I really having some kind of breakdown? No. The photo was real. The note was real. My fear was real. I tried to think logically. If Calvin really was dangerous, what did I know about him? Not much. Just what was on his LinkedIn, and, wait. His LinkedIn said he worked at State Farm for 5 years before joining Meridian. I knew someone at State Farm, my college roommate Jenna. I called her immediately. Hey stranger, she answered cheerfully. Jenna, I need a favor. Can you check if someone named Calvin Reed worked there? About 35, dark hair. Started around 2019. That's an odd request. Everything okay? Please, Jenna. It's important. Well, I can't access HR files, but I know most people from the last 6 years. Name doesn't ring a bell, but let me ask around. Call you back in a bit. While waiting, I searched more thoroughly online. Calvin Reed was a common enough name, but I added insurance and State Farm to narrow it down. Nothing. No results matching all terms. I expanded to news articles, and on page 4 of the results, found something. A small-town newspaper article from Indiana, dated 3 years ago. Local insurance office mourns loss of employee. The article was brief. A State Farm employee named Calvin Reed had died in a car accident. The photo showed a balding middle-aged man, not our Calvin, but it made me dig deeper. I searched Calvin Reed obituary and found 3 from the past 5 years. None were the right age or location, but it got me thinking. What if Calvin Reed wasn't his real name? My phone rang. Jenna. No Calvin Reed here, not in my office or the 3 nearest. Asked my manager who's been here 15 years. Never heard of him. My stomach sank. Thanks, Jenna. One more thing. Is there any way to verify his employment if he worked at a different branch? Sure, HR could confirm it with the employee ID. Why the interrogation? I hesitated. Just being careful. Thanks, I owe you one. After hanging up, I sat with this new information. Calvin Reed had lied about his work history. What else was he lying about? I called Meridian's HR department. Hi Marcia, it's Emma. Look, I know I seemed unstable earlier, but I need to ask, did you verify Calvin's employment history? Marcia sounded wary. Emma, I can't discuss another employee's. Please, this is important. Just tell me if you actually confirmed he worked at State Farm for 5 years. A long pause. We check references, Emma. This came back fine. But did you specifically verify with State Farm's HR department? Another pause. I'd have to check his file. But Emma, I'm concerned about. Just check please. Call me back. While waiting, I paced my apartment, jumping at every sound. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across my living room. I closed all the blinds. My doorbell rang, sending me 3 feet in the air. I approached cautiously and peered through the peephole. Sophia stood outside looking worried. Relief flooded through me as I opened the door. Thank God it's you. You scared the hell out of me today, she said, walking in and setting down a bag. I brought wine and Chinese. What's going on? I told her everything. The feeling, the basement, the photo, what I'd discovered about Calvin's fake employment history. To my surprise, she didn't dismiss me outright. That's concerning, she admitted. But there could be explanations. Maybe he worked at a tiny satellite office Jenna doesn't know about. And the photo? The basement meeting? She frowned. That part is creepy. Did you actually see it was you in the photo? Yes. It was from yesterday. At Brew House, when we had brunch. Sophia's eyes widened. So he was watching us. Me, I corrected. He was watching me. My phone rang. Marcia. Emma, I checked our records. We have a reference letter from his former supervisor. But it looks like we didn't directly verify with State Farm HR. With his references checking out so well, we may have skipped that step. My blood ran cold. Who were his references? I can't give you names, but 2 former colleagues and a supervisor. Can you verify them? Please, Marcia. She sighed heavily. I'll look into it tomorrow, Emma. Try to get some rest. After I hung up, Sophia looked pale. Okay, that's definitely sketchy. I need to find out who he really is, I said, pulling my laptop closer. For the next hour, we conducted our own investigation. We found Calvin's Facebook profile again, but scrutinized it more carefully. All his posts were generic. His photos showed him alone, or with people cropped, so you couldn't clearly identify them. No one had tagged him in anything. Then Sophia had an idea. Let's reverse image search his profile pic. The results made us gasp. The same photo appeared on a stock photo website, labeled Confident Business Professional. Calvin Reed wasn't just lying about his job history. He was a complete fabrication. Underscore 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 ______. The next morning, I called in sick. So did Sophia, who had stayed over, neither of us wanting to be alone. We had spent half the night researching, finding nothing but more questions. Around 10 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. I answer cautiously. Emma Barnes. A deep, unfamiliar male voice. Who's asking? Detective Kaplan, Chicago PD. Marsha Williams from Meridian Insurance asked us to look into one of your co-workers. Relief washed over me. Yes, Calvin Reed. He's using a fake identity. We know. We need you to come to the station. Now. Don't tell anyone where you're going. And make sure you're not followed. The urgency in his voice sent chills down my spine. What's happening? Who is he? We'll explain everything at the station. Come alone. After hanging up, I relayed the conversation to Sophia. That's weird, she said slowly. Why would they tell you not to tell anyone? And why not just arrest Calvin, if they know he's using a fake identity? A knot formed in my stomach. You're right. That's not normal procedure. Call them back, she suggested. The actual police station, not the number that called you. I found the number for the nearest precinct and called. Chicago Police Department, how may I direct your call? Hi. I'm trying to reach Detective Kaplan. He just called me about an investigation. A pause. I'm sorry, we don't have a Detective Kaplan here. My hand started shaking. What about an investigation into someone named Calvin Reed? No ongoing investigations under that name, ma'am. Would you like to file a report? After hanging up, Sophia and I stared at each other in horror. He's coming for you, she whispered. That call was him, wasn't it? My phone rang again. The same unknown number. I declined it, hands trembling. We need to go to the actual police, Sophia said. Right now. As we grabbed our things, My phone pinged with a text from the unknown number. Emma, please. It's urgent we speak. Your life is in danger. Detective Kaplan. Then another. I know you're scared, but I'm trying to protect you. Calvin Reed isn't who you think he is. And finally, he's done this before. I showed Sophia. It's a trap, she insisted. He's trying to lure you out. But what if it wasn't? What if there was a real investigation, just at a different precinct? Let's compromise, I suggested. We'll go to the police station together. If Kaplan is legitimate, he can meet us there. I texted back. Meeting directly with police at Central District Station. If you're legitimate, meet us there. The response came quickly. No, the station isn't safe. He has contacts there. Meet me at Daly Plaza, public place, lots of witnesses. Now I was certain, this was Calvin trying to isolate me. Either meet at station or I'm blocking this number, I replied. No response. But 5 minutes later, as we were getting into Sophia's car, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line made my heart stop. Calvin Reed is Richard Hale, third victim? The email contained a single attachment. A news article from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, dated 2 years ago. Search continues for missing insurance executive. The article detailed the disappearance of Richard Hale, 35, a rising star at American Insurance Group, who vanished after work one day. The case had gone cold. There was a photo. It was Calvin. Oh my God, Sophia whispered, looking over my shoulder. It's him. But why would Calvin/Richard send me this? It didn't make sense. Unless the person texting me really was trying to help. My phone rang again. The unknown number. This time, I answered and put it on speaker. I'm listening, I said cautiously. Finally, the man sighed. Emma, I'm not a detective. My name is Thomas Kaplan. I'm a private investigator hired by Lauren Hale to find her husband, Richard. The man we know as Calvin, I clarified. Yes. Richard disappeared 2 years ago after embezzling nearly $1 million from AIG. His wife never believed he'd just abandon her and their daughter. She hired me last year. So, Calvin Richard is a thief? Not a stalker. He's both, Thomas said grimly. And worse, we've been tracking him for months. He's assumed at least 3 identities that we know of. In each case, he infiltrated an insurance company, identified a female employee with access to accounts or sensitive client information, and got close to her. My mouth went dry. Got close how? Different tactics each time. With the first, he dated her. The second, he became her best friend. When he had their trust and their passwords, he drained accounts and disappeared. But the last woman, she must have caught on. What happened to her? Sophia asked. Thomas's voice went flat. Amanda Reeves. Found in the Milwaukee River 3 weeks after Richard disappeared. Police ruled it suicide, but you don't believe that, I finished. No. And when we traced Richard to Meridian, and saw he was using the same playbook with you, we had to warn you. My mind raced. How did you know he was targeting me specifically? Your employee profile on Meridian's website lists you as the liaison for the Henderson account, one of your largest clients. Richard specializes in finding people with access to big money. Plus, we've been monitoring his computer activity. He's searched for you specifically. A lot. I felt sick. What do I do? I asked. We need evidence to take to the police. They wouldn't act on our suspicions alone. Believe me, we've tried. But if we can prove he's Richard Hale. The photo. I remembered suddenly. He had a surveillance photo of me in that basement office. We need that photo, Thomas said urgently. It connects him directly to stalking behavior. I dropped it when I was escaping. It might still be in that basement office. Can you get it? Without him seeing you. I looked at Sophia, who nodded reluctantly. We can try. Most people take lunch around noon. The basement is usually empty. Be extremely careful, Thomas warned. Don't confront him. Just get the evidence and get out. I'm on my way to Chicago now, about 3 hours out. I'll meet you after. The plan set, we hung up and prepared ourselves. It felt surreal. Just days ago, my biggest concern had been quarterly reports. Now I was investigating a potential murderer. Meridian's lobby was busy when we arrived at 12:15. We waved casually at Jerry the security guard and headed for the elevators. Act normal, I whispered to Sophia. If anyone asks, we're grabbing lunch for a working session on the Henderson account. The elevator doors opened, and my heart stopped. Calvin stood inside alone. His surprise quickly morphed into that perfect smile. Emma, feeling better today? Think fast. Much thanks. Just a migraine yesterday. He nodded sympathetically, then noticed Sophia. Sophia, right? Nice to see you again. You too, she managed, her voice only slightly strained. We all stood in uncomfortable silence as the elevator ascended. Working lunch? Calvin asked, gesturing to my bag. Yep, big presentation tomorrow. I lied. Actually heading to that new sandwich place around the corner. He said, studying my face. They make an excellent turkey club. The doors opened at the main floor, and he gestured for us to exit first. Enjoy your lunch, ladies, he said, remaining in the elevator. Oh, and Emma, we should reschedule our meeting about Henderson. When you're feeling up to it, of course. The doors closed on his smile, but not before I saw something dark flicker behind his eyes. He knows, I whispered once he was gone. He knows we're on to him. Then we need to get that photo now, Sophia said, pulling me toward another elevator bank. Before he destroys it. The basement was as dim and quiet as before. We moved quickly down the hallway toward B7, footsteps echoing ominously. The door was closed now. I turned the handle slowly, unlocked. We slipped inside. The room looked different. Cleaner. The desk lamp was gone, the desk surface bare. He's cleared everything out, Sophia realized. Let's look anyway. The photo might have fallen somewhere. We searched meticulously. Under the desk, behind filing cabinets, in every drawer. Nothing. Then Sophia gasped. Emma, look. She pointed to a small waste bin in the corner. Inside was a curved piece of glass, the broken frame. The photo might still be. A noise from the hallway cut her off. Footsteps. Coming closer. We froze, eyes locked in terror. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then the handle turned slowly. Under the desk, I mouthed, pointing. We both dove for cover as the door swung open. From my hiding spot, I could see men's dress shoes enter. Not Calvin's polished black ones, but worn brown loafers. Hello, called an unfamiliar voice. Someone in here? An IT guy. It had to be. The relief made me dizzy. I was about to reveal ourselves when he spoke again, this time into a phone. Yeah, I'm checking B7 now. No sign of them yet. Yes, sir, I'll keep looking. My blood turned to ice. He was looking for us. And sir had to be Calvin. The man moved around the room, checking obvious hiding spots. When he approached the desk, I held my breath. Nothing here, he reported. Heading to B12 next. After he left, we waited a full minute before crawling out. We need to get out of here, Sophia whispered. Not without evidence, I insisted, going to the waste bin. The frame was indeed broken, but the photo was gone. In its place was a small piece of paper, a receipt from a self-storage facility, dated yesterday. Unit number 217, access code 3529. Why would he leave this? Sophia wondered. He didn't mean to, I realized. It was stuck to the back of the frame. When he destroyed it, he didn't notice this fell in too. We hurried out of the basement, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. In the lobby, we moved casually toward the exit, trying not to run. Outside on the sidewalk, I finally breathed. We need to call Thomas. I dialed, but it went straight to voicemail. Thomas, we found something. A receipt for a storage unit. Call me back ASAP. What now? Sophia asked. I stared at the receipt. We check out this storage unit. Are you insane? We should go straight to the police with what we know. And tell them what? That a guy we work with might be someone else? That he might have killed someone in another state. We need proof. Sophia looked torn. Finally, she nodded. Fine. But we're in and out. No heroics. The self-storage facility was in an industrial area just outside downtown. Rows of identical orange doors lined long corridors of units. Using the access code from the receipt, we entered through the main gate. Unit 217 was in the back corner, partially obscured from the security cameras. Its padlock was new and sturdy. The receipt didn't include a key code for the actual unit, I realized. So we came all this way for nothing, Sophia sighed. Let's go before. I suddenly remembered something. The Henderson account that Calvin had been so interested in. The account number was 3529, the same as the access code on the receipt. Wait, I said, approaching the lock. I think I know the code. I entered 3529 into the digital lock. It clicked open. How did you know that? Sophia asked, impressed. It's the Henderson account number. He's not very creative with his codes. We pulled up the rolling door cautiously. The unit was mostly empty except for a few boxes and a large bulletin board leaning against the back wall. I approached it slowly, then gasped. The board was covered with photos of me. At work, at home, with friends. Grocery shopping. Jogging. Even sleeping, taken through my bedroom window. Next to the photos were printouts of my emails, bank statements, medical records. All annotated in neat handwriting. He's been watching you for months, Sophia whispered, horrified. Long before he even started at Meridian. In the center of the board was a detailed timeline marking key dates. June 1st, initial contact. June 15th, gain trust. July 10th, access Henderson credentials. A July 30th, transfer complete. August 1st, EB removal. Today was July 25th. EB removal. I read aloud, my voice shaking. That's me, Emma Barnes. He's planning to kill me in a week. We need to document this, Sophia said, pulling out her phone. Then get the hell out of here and call the police. She began taking photos of everything while I examined the boxes. One contained gadgets, listening devices, tiny cameras, a signal jammer. Another held documents, detailed information about the Henderson account, including transaction histories and security protocols. The third box made my skin crawl. It contained wigs, fake ID cards with Calvin's photo but different names, and a small case of makeup and prosthetics for disguises. Sophia, look at this, I called, holding up a driver's license. Daniel Weber. Think this is his next identity. When she didn't respond, I turned and froze. Calvin stood in the doorway, Sophia in front of him with his arm around her throat. Hello, Emma, he said pleasantly. Interesting place for a lunch meeting, isn't it? His eyes weren't cold now. They burned with something terrible. Rage, yes, but also excitement. The mask of normalcy had slipped completely. Let her go, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. In due time, he replied. First, I'd like you to put down your phone. Slowly, I realized I was still holding it. The screen opened to Thomas's contact. I set it on a box, mind racing for a plan. You've been very troublesome, Calvin. No, Richard, continued conversationally. No one else caught on so quickly. I had everything set up perfectly. The Henderson transfer was going to be my masterpiece. Why me? I asked, stalling. Why all this elaborate setup? His smile widened. Because you're good at your job, Emma. Too good. The Henderson account has the weakest security protocols for its size. But you're the only one who can authorize large transfers. I needed your passwords, your biometric data, and your trust. You could have just stolen my identity, I pointed out. Why stalk me for months? Identity theft leaves trails. This way is cleaner. I learn everything about my targets, habits, schedules, security questions, passwords. Then I become whoever they need me to be. For Amanda, I was the perfect colleague. For you, well, I was hoping for friendship first. Then more. Sophia made a muffled sound of disgust. His arm tightened around her neck. Don't worry, I won't kill you here, he said, reading my thoughts. Too messy. I have a much better location picked out. Somewhere your bodies won't be found for months, if ever. My eyes darted around for a weapon, anything I could use. You won't get away with this, I said. People know we're here. The police are already looking into you. He laughed. No, they're not. No one believes you, remember? Yesterday you had a very public meltdown. Today you called in sick. Tomorrow, you and Sophia will simply not come back from lunch. Tragic, but these things happen in big cities. As he spoke, I noticed something reflected in the metal shelving unit behind him. Movement in the corridor outside. Someone was there. I needed to keep him talking. What happened with Amanda? I asked. She figured it out too, didn't she? His face darkened. Amanda got greedy. Wanted a cut of the money to stay quiet. As if I'd worked all those months just to share. So you killed her and made it look like suicide. She left a very convincing note, he said with a cold smile. I'm quite good at forgery. Among other things. I needed to buy more time. Whoever was in the hallway was our only hope. And your wife, Lauren, does she know what you've done? His eyes flashed with genuine surprise. How do you? He recovered quickly. Lauren was naive. She still probably thinks I'll come home someday. Your daughter might disagree, I said, watching his reaction carefully. Something flickered across his face. Pain, perhaps? A weak spot. You don't know anything about my daughter, he hissed. I know she hired Thomas Kaplan to find you. Richard's grip on Sophia tightened, making her gasp. Impossible. My daughter's only 7. Your wife then, I corrected. She never believed you'd abandon them. He laughed bitterly. Touching. But it doesn't matter now. No private investigator is going to find us after today. Now we're going to walk out of here calmly. You first, then Sophia and me. My car's right outside. If either of you tries anything, I have a knife that will end this reunion very quickly. I hesitated, eyes darting to the hallway reflection again. Still movement, but I couldn't make out who it was. Move, Richard ordered, pulling a knife from his pocket just enough for me to see the blade. I walked slowly toward the door, mind racing. If I could just signal whoever was out there. As I passed Richard and Sophia, I deliberately stumbled, bumping into them hard. Sorry, I mumbled, using the momentary distraction to knock the knife from his hand. It clattered to the floor. Richard's face contorted with rage. He shoved Sophia aside and lunged for me, his hands going straight for my throat. I was going to make it painless, he snarled, fingers digging into my neck. But now you'll suffer first. Black spots danced in my vision as I struggled to breathe. I clawed at his hands, but his grip was too strong. Then suddenly, he was thrown sideways as someone tackled him to the ground. Thomas Kaplan. I gasped for air, as the two men struggled on the concrete floor. Thomas was bigger, but Richard was wiry and vicious, landing several hard blows. Sophia scrambled to my side. Are you okay? I nodded, still catching my breath. Help Thomas. She looked around frantically, then grabbed a heavy metal flashlight from one of the boxes. As Richard gained the upper hand over Thomas, Sophia swung the flashlight, connecting solidly with Richard's shoulder. He howled in pain, momentarily distracted. Thomas seized the opportunity, flipping Richard onto his stomach and pinning his arms behind his back. Emma, my bag, Thomas grunted. Side pocket. Zip ties. I found his messenger bag by the door and retrieved the zip ties, quickly securing Richard's wrists. Only when he was fully restrained did I finally exhale. Perfect timing, I told Thomas, helping him up. Tracked your phone, he explained between breaths. When you didn't answer my calls, I figured something was wrong. We all looked down at Richard, who glared back with pure hatred. You have nothing on me, he spat. It's your word against mine. Thomas smiled grimly. Actually, we have a storage unit full of evidence. Stalking materials, stolen IDs, detailed plans for account theft. That's before we even start investigating what happened to Amanda Reeves. Richard's face went blank, the final mask falling away to reveal nothing but cold calculation behind his eyes. I want a lawyer, he said flatly. 3 months later, I stood in a Milwaukee courtroom as Richard Hale. His real name confirmed through fingerprints. Was sentenced to 25 years for fraud, identity theft, stalking, and second-degree murder. Amanda's case had been reopened based on evidence from his storage unit, including her actual suicide note in his handwriting practice sheets. Lauren Hale sat in the front row, both relieved and devastated. After the sentencing, she approached me in the hallway. I wanted to thank you, she said quietly. For years, I didn't know if he was alive or dead. Now at least Emma has answers. She meant her daughter. I'm just sorry those answers weren't better ones, I replied. She smiled sadly. Somehow I always knew, deep down, but I couldn't accept it. That feeling, knowing something without conscious evidence, was something I understood all too well now. Thomas Kaplan took over security consulting for Meridian after the case, implementing new verification protocols for all new hires. He and Sophia started dating, their shared trauma creating an unlikely bond. As for me, I still work at Meridian, still manage the Henderson account, still make Excel spreadsheets. But I've learned to listen to that voice. That primitive warning system we all have but rarely trust. The one that whispers danger before we consciously know why. Sometimes intuition is the only thing between you and the unthinkable. Sometimes intuition saves your life. The end.